No idea why I would want to click
Keep
that.
pushing, keep pushing.
Okay, that's annoying. Oh yeah, I forgot I have to mute the audio coming from the card. That's right. All right, cool. Wow, what a bumpy start. It's okay. These are still the rough drafts. Welcome back, guys. This is the weekly podcast, episode 2, weekly gaming podcast, episode 2, where we talk about gaming news. We watch films sometimes together during the weeks, and we talk about that too. And we talk about anything else in gaming and sort of entertainment that's ailing us, other world events. Yeah, we're joined this week by our usual, our co-host Pizza, Mia, and Zeus. This week we're going to be talking about Netflix's High Score. We watched a couple episodes of that during the week, and the movie that we watched last week for movie night, which was Ready Player One. We're going to discuss the release of the RTX 30 series graphics cards, which is pretty big for gamers on PCs, and that usually trickles down to everybody else, all us plebs on consoles. And then you've got Marvel did a crossover event with Fortnite called the Nexus War. We'll be talking about that a little bit. And there's a few other things we save if we have time for, a couple other things. I'm going to hand it over to Pizza. No worries. Yeah, let's talk about that first. Yeah, Wednesday night. I really like the movie. It's my I don't know, 10th time watching it. When it first came out on when it was in theaters, I went to go watch it, and when it released, at home, I watched it with like everybody in my family. I watched it like 3 times by myself, looking for all the Easter eggs, literally pausing the scenes and like seeing if I could identify all the different characters from all the different franchises that's in there. Oddly, no Disney characters of all. I don't know if it's like I started to notice there's like no Disney characters after a while, but I mean I really liked it. It was my friend Mia got a chance to come hang out with us and watch the movie last minute, which is great. What did you think about it, Mia? I know that was your first time watching the film. Wow, kind of scary. Yeah. What are some of your initial thoughts, Zeus? Oh, sorry. Yeah, just to touch on that a little bit, I agree with you there. I think after like sort of years ago when I watched the film for the first time, I was already hunting Easter eggs, and so I definitely felt like an attachment. Like I felt an attachment to that role, to these characters and what they were doing. But I had never, on this other second time around, Zeus brought up some really good points, and I was like, wait, how long were they working on this step of the Easter egg? Because, and like a $500 billion is on the line? Like, yeah, I see where you're coming from. Some of these things might have been solved a lot sooner, I think. Because you actually have the PSVR. You'd be more experienced with that. I wish it would be. Pizza, what have you been trying to say? Yeah, I want to know what's on Pizza's mind. What's up to the chat, by the way? Really? That's huge. Huh. Does Parzival drive the DeLorean? Okay. So he changed the first two challenges around. It wasn't. Mm-hmm. Okay. So like almost like a two part thing just for that first part. You have to you unlock it, but also you don't know where it is yet. Once it's unlocked, you have to go and find it still. Okay, got you. So there's no race whatsoever in the books. Do, uh-huh. And not to change, not to make you lose your where you're at, but do you think that would have anything to do with the DeLorean being focused, since it's a movie, and the DeLorean had a movie, very popular movie franchise tied around it, that they kind of want to give it a more focus, focus more on that, give it a more shining role? What do you think? Mm-hmm. It's a big quest. Got you. Mm-hmm. What's up, Pixels? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Got you. And what was the second challenge, and how did they differ from the movie? So in the movie, spoiler alert, it has to do with his crush, and a dance, and his regrets around that, sort of. I don't want to give away too much of the movie if you haven't seen it, but yeah. Like how desolate things had become, or hmm, right. People were working in there, they were banking. Ah, that was his classmate. No, they met in a Zoom meeting. It does sound familiar. Which do you prefer? Which of the two sides of the story do you prefer? Hmm. Okay. Do you feel more attached to the characters, but you get to see more of their daily life, or you get to like get more time to grow with the characters? Okay, so they moved all that around. I could see why they would do that, man. It's much more. It's there's more of this like hero element when his girl's in there and he's got to rescue her. It's got like this whole Mario versus Kong like to rescue Princess Peach vibe to it. You know what I mean? So I could see why they would steer it that way. How long did they know each other in the books before he fell in love? Was that the same or was that at all different? Creeping on her. Hmm. Which is where they meet. Which is where they meet in the game. I mean, in the movie. Does does she drive Kaneda's bike in the books? Yeah, I didn't think I had a feeling that had been added because I feel like Akira was very sleeper, bro. Like my entire teenage years, dude, I wore those Akira shirts. Nobody ever complimented me on them. They're my dad's shirts from the '80s. Nobody ever cared. Nobody knew what Akira was. I feel like now more and more people, it's getting appreciated more. It was like cool when my dad was young, and it was not cool when I was young. But I rocked it anyway because I thought it was cool, you know. But now it's like people think it's cool again, so you see it more. But yeah. Um, but Mia, some of those aspects that you're talking about being translated into our real world is starting to happen right now too. With Elon Musk Neuralink this week, did you guys all get a chance to see that video? His presentation that he had on some pigs, literally like yeah, they had shown a pig that had a Neuralink implant installed. They showed a pig that had it installed, but now had it removed, and they showed that it was working fine. And different sort of pigs in various stages of being Neuralinked. I'm a no. Anybody else get a chance to watch that video? Yeah, no, no. So Mia, a lot of those things that you're talking about, it's like I feel like we're right on the precipice of that, and everything is sort of happening right now as we speak. But yeah, I don't know if you wanted to share any more thoughts on that. How many people would know Dungeons and Dragons when they see it? I wouldn't even know it, maybe. And I play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a nerd. I care about that stuff, and I'm pretty knowledgeable. And I don't think if I saw something at a glance, I wouldn't know. How do you identify with that as being Dungeons and Dragons? There's nothing really famous enough. What was that? Uh huh. Like the cover of one of the Dungeons Master's guidebook. Yeah, I recognized it. You're not wrong. Yeah, that's exactly where that's from. Okay, okay, yeah, okay. And so it's another one of those things like the mansion where they just snuck it in there. They don't talk about it. That way they don't have to worry about paying for rights for it. What's up, DK? Mm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's the part that was one of the hardest things to believe of me is that they would A, shut it down at all, ever, even for 1 minute, unless they're doing a patch, and B, that he would not like that he would act like that they'd be more so willing to. I don't feel like there's no coming back from that. We're already so willing. I know realistically there's no coming back from that world, and people would embrace it with open arms. I don't know that even some kids who have learned this lesson. I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know that I have enough faith in humanity that they'd actually do that. I felt like that was one of the harder to believe things. Um, yeah, I agree. Like I sort of agree with Mia. Some of the mushier aspects of the movie were the things I didn't like or didn't need, but it's like typical Hollywood stuff. The romance, it's sort of like it screams Hollywood. So I get it. Um, that's why I was asking what that's like in the. Mm. Oh Jesus! By the Sixers. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Well, that's wow. Okay. And man, that would really give some weight to the whole story and everything. Yeah, that'd be cool. Actually, I wouldn't mind seeing some blood. Um, but yeah, that was pretty cool. I really glad that we got a chance to watch it. When you first brought it up, I was like, well, that movie's a little bit dated, but like looking back on it, it was literally the perfect movie for us to watch for the first week because we're basically talking about not just video games but also movies. And going forward, it's gonna be involving TV, movies, video games, anything that's entertainment really. So I think it was very fitting, very nice way to start off our movie weeks. And for next week for movie weeks, just to mention it, we're going to be watching. Well, actually, you know what? It's going to be a Marvel related film. I don't want to say the name of the film that we're going to be watching. I'm not sure of I'm not even going to say anything else. But we're going to be watching a new Marvel film. Is all I can say. If you guys are interested, make sure to join our Discord. It's in the description of. You can find it around on my channel, or just ask me for a description, DM me or whatever, and we'll get you inside. We'll be doing another movie week this week, most likely Wednesday night, unless we have to reschedule or we have to do it earlier or later. It'll be this week, Wednesday night. We'll be watching a Marvel film. And talking about Marvel, I wanted to talk about the crossover event that they did with Fortnite, the Nexus War. I know Zeus has been playing Fortnite every day lately, like grinding out that battle pass. And I went and bought the battle pass, been playing a little bit with him. Zeus, what do you think? Mia, you've been playing Fortnite almost on a daily basis with your kids as too, haven't you? What do you think about it? What do you think about the latest season? We, not a big Marvel fan, I take it. That was very touching, very touching. So it wasn't there, and it was there overnight, or how did they? Do you know how they added that? Yeah, and then they put like, yeah, I like how you can't destroy it either. Like they made it so like if you try to hit it, it's like a permanent object. You can't like break it down for mats or anything. Zeus, I think I'm gonna hand it over to you. You're probably our resident Fortnite expert, at least on the panel tonight. Yeah, 100 yards long, freaking 60, 70 yards high. Big, huge panther. Oh, wow. That's cool, dude. what's the best what's the best weapon I know the Marvel, all the different characters have like superpowers, kind of like how they did the lightsabers for the Star Wars event, or they did like powers for, I don't even remember what it was. There was some other thing that they did where you had powers in it. You might remember what it was more than I would. But yeah. Who's man?
Powerful, but it was a mythic weapon. So over the season, they were trying to figure out how to implement mythic weapons, and so what they decided is there's boss fights in certain POIs, and that's points of interest. You go there, you fight the boss, you beat them. They have a bunch of health, henchmen all around them. You get their mythic items, which are overpowered, but there's only one in every game of the character-specific items. And so this season, they made it the POIs have certain superheroes there. You beat the superheroes, you get their powers. Silver Surfer, you get their board. Groot, you can turn it into the Groot
So
ball.
wait, somewhere on the
Doom, you get
map,
the Gauntlet.
someone fought
No,
Silver
all of them
Surfer?
you have to fight the people, kill them, and then you get their items. So somewhere around the map, Silver Surfer
Wow.
City, you can be the first person there, kill him, get his board, but it's the only one in the entire game.
So what if
Wow.
you get the Silver Surfer, get his board, and then go find Groot and kill him? Do you get both powers?
You can have as many
You can have
mythic
5
items as you can get. There's
powers.
only one in the game, but if you kill everyone, you can have them all. You
They
get
they
everything.
take up a spot. So so you can have 5 different powers. One, and they really complement each other really well. Like Groot's is for mobility, and it heals you as you move around. So you could use it for escape, and it heals you as you escape, or you can rush enemies, and if you were down any health at all, it's going to heal you up or ward you up a little bit. It's pretty amazing, actually. I mean, I have not been minding playing at all. I think it's probably the funnest I've had in Fortnite in a while, which is saying a lot. You know, it's one of those games where I keep on saying, okay, I'm done with this. I'm never going to play it again. And then they come out with all these Marvel characters. And it's like, okay, I have to play it. Hey, Pizza, just a quick question. Did you get, thank you, Lisa, for letting me know. I don't know if you're still here, Lisa. Are you broadcasting, Pizza?
I think so.
Okay, I really hope you are, because I'm gonna because it turns out that I didn't have any of your guys' audio on for the first half of this whole thing, so so I really hope that yours is recording.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay, good. Um,
Although I'm not actually recording locally, so, but it should be recording on past streams.
on
YouTube, so.
on Twitch, right?
No, on
YouTube. On YouTube, right? My bad. So okay, so yeah, so it is recording. Good. All right, good. I'm just making sure. I would be really tragic if we weren't.
Yeah.
And on the topic of Fortnite, they just revealed that they're going to add in RTX and DLSS. Now, you might know more about this. They added support for it. And from someone who doesn't know a whole lot about electronics, you get to see reflections like never before. The water reflects exactly what the people are doing, glass, you can see. So you might know more about that end.
Yeah, basically.
Yes.
With the so actually we got some big news 2 days ago. RTX 30 series cards were announced, which are leap and jump. I don't even know. I'm not gonna try to. They're so much better than last generation's RTX cards. Basically, the new generation of consoles are gonna have a technology called ray tracing. It's not proprietary to Nvidia, but the way that they branded it and the way that they're capitalizing and sort of marketing or cornering the whole market on ray tracing on PCs. It almost seems like it is an Nvidia technology, but it's not. It's going to be available on AMD cards in the future. But basically, what it is a new way of path tracing rays of light to make it more realistic. And one of the things that it can do is allow to have completely accurate shadows or reflections. So if, for example, an enemy happens to be around the corner, that shadow would reflect like exactly how they're positioned and how the light would actually be casting a shadow off that player model, versus traditionally it's just sort of like a baked in model, like just on the floor that kind of statically follows around the character. It doesn't move with them. It doesn't actually, move like the way the character's model is moving. It's just sort of like painted on the floor underneath them somewhere. It might move depending on how they rotate, but that's about it. And with this new element, I mean, I think it's really going to add a level of tactics that weren't there before. You're going to be able to see your enemy, and maybe in reflecting off of some glass, like in the window across. Like if you're downtown and there's or wherever you're at, there's a building across from you and there's a window, you might actually be able to see your enemy like around the corner where you obviously would normally not be able to see them. So it's a very cool addition. I can't wait to see what it's gonna do for Fortnite. And I think it's very important to bring in the feature in a Fortnite now, considering how mainstream this is all about to go. You've got basically a $500 card this year that hasn't been released yet, but it's coming out very soon, that matches the performance of a $1,200 card from just 2 years ago. So they're making the technology a lot more accessible. I think that, it's a great addition. It makes the games look amazing. If you guys have seen some of the demos from the Minecraft RTX on versus off, that just speaks for itself. It looks breathtakingly beautiful. So really looking forward to it. And that's just something that just got announced this week. So not that it's a new technology and they couldn't have added it, but the amount of people that probably would have been able to afford to take advantage of it before compared to how, accessible it's going to be now in the future. It's a great addition to the game. It's going to make Fortnite has come a long way from when it started, but it's about to start looking a lot better. And then the other feature that they're adding, the DLSS 2.0, basically what that allows your system to do, and it's going to be available in these new consoles as well, is it allows your system to render an easier, or what they call cheaper, to draw graphics. So for example, a 720 or a 1080 signal that's up converted to make it look like it's 4K or 1440p or what have you. And so it's not as graphically demanding on your system. You're able to push out more frames, and overall it looks amazing. The first version, the first iteration of it, the 1.0 version of it, it made things look a little bit smoother, a little bit better, but it wasn't a game changer. This second iteration is insane. They're literally making images that are 1080p or 1440p or some downscaled resolution, and they're making it look as good as 4K or better than natively drawn 4K images. And so it's just we're gonna start to see 244 hertz monitors finally actually get their use, because a lot of these people had these monitors at home, they weren't really using them. Anyways, that's not as cool as the ray tracing, but it's very nice especially for people that had weaker systems. If you got a laptop that's been struggling, you might actually be able to get a good frame rate out of it now with that technology being implemented. But
do you have anything to say about that, pizza?
So I have a 2080, RTX 2080. I've been seeing ray tracing in a few games here and there. As far as Fortnite, I mean, you may have a little bit of, cool factors with water and reflections off of that, whatnot. I think ray tracing is really going to shine in like stealth games, being able to see around corners and stuff like that. As in the first, or just shooters in general. I think it's nice. It looks pretty, but it doesn't really have too much of an advantage. Like you said, you might be able to see around a corner through a window or something, but the most you're really going to get out of that is see whether he's facing you or facing the other way. And in something like Fortnite, it's like you're going to either build or push around that corner anyway.
I see what you're saying. So it's a little bit too fast paced to take full advantage of some of those nuances.
Yes.
And in a more stealthy game, like maybe if they ever decide to bring back Siphon Filter, you would really be able to take more advantage of those lighting and shadow effect. I see where you're coming from. I guess I agree with that. I'm still very interested to see how much nicer the game's going to look with this edition, because it makes the games look better flat out, period. So at the very least, it's going to be.
It does make it look better, but I guarantee no one's going to be using it. Everyone's going to have it still dumbed down so they can get the highest frame rates possible.
Oh, like pro gamers are going to have all those features turned off. You're right. You're not wrong. wrong.
Yeah.
Well, so obviously, again, someone doesn't know a whole lot about computers and stuff. How does the rest of the computer keep up with the GPU? Is it going to be fine, or I know bottlenecking? I heard that term. Is that going to be an issue with the new one coming out? People are going to have to upgrade their entire setups, or will they be able just to install the new GPU and, assuming they've have new PC in the past 5-10 years, it should still be able to run the GPU to maybe not top standards, but enough to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally get what you're asking.
Make sure that it's a worthy purchase, make sure they're getting their money's worth.
So any standard PC right now, like if you have a CPU within the last 5 years, I would say, there, with so many cores and multi-threading going on, you're not going to bottleneck in that CPU on any graphics card, because all the work's done on the graphics card.
Okay. So it seems like, again, because I am planning on building a PC eventually, the GPU is almost the heart of, like, if you have a good GPU, the rest of the stuff will be fine.
50% of your budget should be spent on if you're spending $1,000 on a computer, total computer, at least $500 needs to be going to your GPU. It's the most important system for if you're a gamer. It's the most important part of your system for gaming. Yes. Now, pretty much any CPU, you can grab $100 CPU these days and get value out of that 500, or even the more expensive, the 3080 or even the 3090. You're gonna be bottlenecked, absolutely, but it's gonna be almost not noticeable unless you're trying to push 360, 244 frames. Like, unless you're competitive and you are missing those frames, and for some, that's going to be a very small amount of players that's going to be able to take full advantage of that. Most people's monitors are not going to be able to keep up with that extra overhead. But let's just say, perfect world, you are. Most players won't even be able to appreciate that. I think 99.9% of people are going to be okay with as long as the bottleneck is not on the graphics end. As long as the graphics are looking good, if it's 60 to 120, it's fine. If it's not 144, it's fine. If it's at least 100 or 120, it's already looking amazing. Like, it looks amazing, and 100% the graphics card is more important than anything else. Now, if you wanted to get the most out of that GPU, yeah, you're going to want to pair it with a nice fast Intel CPU, which has high frequency, and we can get into all the different details of what, but generally speaking, if you're just at home, you don't know what to do, spend the most money on your GPU, and then make sure the system actually turns on, and you're going to be happy. You are going to be very happy. The only thing you're going to be missing is a few, 10% of your frames or something like that aren't going to be there if your CPU can't keep up with it. It's not that big of a deal. And more importantly, like, when you're used to a console, especially 99.9% of the people that are going to buy a computer to buy video games are buying it because consoles maybe weren't enough, or they want to upgrade, they want to step their game up. And so you're coming from seeing 30, 45 frames per second. So just even 60 or 100, you're going to be so happy with that. So to fully answer your question, yes, you will notice a difference between the fastest CPU and a slower one, but for your average person, it's not going to matter, and you're going to be a lot happier with a more expensive GPU than CPU. But anyways, I think I over-explained that question now. I want to talk about the high score. We saw this. We just, to shift gears, we're talking about the latest cutting edge stuff in video games out there today. Literally stuff we can't even get our hands on yet, which is going to be shaping the games to come for the next couple years or so. But let's switch gears and jump back 30 years. We just talked about the RTX 30 series and talk about, like, the beginning of it all. Pong, Activision, or not Activision, excuse me, Atari. and Missile Command, and Miyamoto designing showing original drawings of different little characters and stuff. Anyways, we're talking about Netflix's yeah, High Score on Netflix. I think it's an 8-part series. I don't know, not enough. I blew through the whole thing and I was like, oh, I want to watch more. We got to watch the
might
first.
Even be 6.
It's not enough.
It's short.
It's not enough episodes, that's for sure. But and I'm really, which they got to do a second season. By the way, they have to. It's a great series. I really hope it'd be such a huge missed opportunity if they don't do a second season. But yeah, Mia, did you get a chance to watch High Score with us at all? Is Mia still here? We might have lost Mia.
So
I think we lost Mia. Zeus, you weren't there while we were watching it, were you? I don't remember. Somebody was there. You did?
Maybe it was Blind.
Was it Blind? Oh, and he didn't get a chance to make it this week.
No, Blind's here. Blind's in the chat.
Is he?
This is true.
Say something, Blind.
Yo, what's up, dude? I didn't know you were here.
What's up?
What are you guys' thoughts on Netflix's High Score? I want to hear what you guys think about it.
Good piece of history, that's for sure. I think it's every gamer should really watch it and see where it all came from.
Yeah.
So, I knew a lot of the stuff that was in this miniseries, docu-series, I guess. Just from growing up with video games, taking some game theory classes, stuff like that. I knew quite a bit of what was in it, but I still thoroughly enjoyed it. There was even a story I told you about the Channel 3-4 switch, how it got invented, because they touched briefly on that sales meeting, and it made me think of it. So there's a lot of cool tidbits of information in there, but there's still so much more that can be covered.
Oh yeah. That's why I think I was so surprised when it ended. I was like, that's it. You guys just talked about a tiny little corner of video game history, and it's all, to me, so fascinating that I could have sat there and watched another, a couple more seasons, honestly. Another 8 episodes for sure, more easily. I really especially thought, anytime we watched movies about what happened in those days, that era, I don't care if it's George Jung and his marijuana smuggling, or it's like whatever is going on, you're like, man, imagine getting in on the ground floor, and you're like, what it would be like to be there. And I know, I mean, to be there with those guys modding those Missile Command machines, and they made what was it, $500,000? No, it was $250,000 in like a matter of in a few weeks. Yeah. Man, it was really cool. It really gave me that vibe. Like we're watching, some story about some drug dealer or something that made it rich. Like it was really cool. It definitely gave me that rock star, like, you know what I mean? That flavor.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand.
Good time and fun.
Yawning over here. It definitely, it was just some kids from MIT that wanted better video games, and they also were running an arcade. They're like, we're losing money. They're getting too good at these games. We got to change them up. And
the fact that they were able to bluff their way into a contract,
yes.
That's just was Midway. Yeah, they bluffed their way to a contract with Midway. Whereas no one knew why they had dropped the suit. So for all these people knew, they had won that suit, and they dropped it because they didn't have any legal recourse. And so they parlayed that perfectly into a deal with Midway. I mean, if you guys haven't watched it yourselves, it's pretty ingenious what they did there. And that's just in the first episode. Basically all we didn't even touch on everything that's talked about in the first episode, but later on, and probably save it for another episode, but I really liked when they talk about Doom and everything, the whole idea behind it, the fact that it came from a video game subscription service that had literal trash, like something most people would just completely discount. And
yep.
Still, that's where arguably one of the more important video games of the video game history came from. I mean, a lot of FPSs owe a lot of themselves to Doom. And or to Doom clone of some sort, so it might as well be Doom. And you know that's Quake, that's everything. I mean, Call of Duty, there would be no Call of Duty without Doom. So hugely important, I think, to us and sort of our sphere. I thought that was very interesting, kind of cool. Very out there characters. Some of these guys that make video games are very out there. They remind me of rock stars in a lot of ways. They're very, very eccentric people, and it's kind of cool seeing their stories. But other stuff that's happening out there, they released some specs on the PS5 controller. And the thing that stood out to me right away, which I felt like I just had to get your guys' opinions about, was they are wanting to implement trigger stops. So your gun in Call of Duty, what have you, kind of FPS game, your gun jams, they want it to actually stop. You physically prevent you from pulling that trigger. And I mean,
Oh wow.
yeah, and I know myself. I know how at the rate that I destroy controllers, especially PS5 ones, or excuse me, PS4 controllers. And I just know that you would have to have a very robust mechanism to stop me on the fly, where I think that my finger is going to be able to pull on it. So it's not like I'm being gentle. I'm just pulling on it like normal, and suddenly it's not meant to be pulled. Like, what do you guys think about that?
So I didn't even think about that until you brought it up. I mean, trigger stops, yeah. I mean, my Astro C40 has trigger stops. I use trigger stops all the time, but to automate the trigger stop and to just engaging whenever, that's kind of ingenious and also kind of scary.
Trixie says I'd break the shit out of that. Yeah, exactly, dude.
I don't know, scary. Because I don't think you would. I mean, I lay on those fucking triggers sometimes, you know, playing Apex or whatever on like with the Hemlock single fire guns. I have the trigger stop in and I'm laying on the fucking trigger, like firing as fast as I can, you know.
All three of us have that Astro controller, and so I'm very Blind's familiar with those trigger stops. I am too. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced a thing where you bump that slot up a little bit to where it's not locked in, and then now your finger is able to click past it, and it's almost kind of like a jarring, almost kind of like it's breaking. And you're like, ooh, let me set that back down where it's supposed to be. Has that ever happened? Because it's happened to me on the Astro one, and that's a $200 controller. Do not expect the PS5 controller to be built as robust as a $200. You can't expect that to be as, you know what I mean? So, Blind, what do you think?
It sounds like capitalism at its finest. It's gonna be built enough to last so long to where when it does break, you just have no choice but to buy a new one.
Oh my God, you bring up such a good point. They're like, okay, we got a lot of complaints.
How they make it, yeah. You know, I could be wrong, and they can make it extremely well, and you would only have to buy it just like normal, how you would buy one nowadays, every so often. But
for me, that's about 6 months nowadays.
Like
6 months, yeah.
Appealing enough to where like, oh, it's a new feature. This is so cool, and you're just gonna go through a million of them.
It does sound like a cool feature, though. Do you guys not think that sounds? I mean, does that? Yeah. What do you guys think about the sound of it?
Definitely enticing.
I don't know how they're gonna automate it though. You know.
Well, it's just like a rumble, like a rumble. Like when you do a certain action, it'll like lock it. Like.
So how could you engage it by yourself in a game that just to have trigger stops on?
I would really hope so. If they have trigger stops,
like you wouldn't be able to move the trigger at all. Like if you had your trigger stops already activated, it would not go.
It wouldn't even go to that part, right? If it was working right, yeah.
That would be the idea.
You guys are bringing up some good questions.
I can't play without trigger stops. Like when you have it all the way.
I know it seems so far.
I can't even do that anymore. I can't even click it down all the way that far anymore.
It was the biggest problem coming over from when I stopped using the Astro controller and I switched back to PlayStation controllers. The trigger stops are forever. The distance forever, and so you learn to. And I don't know if you guys do this, but
easy just to like barely touch it.
Yes, yes, and what you do to compensate for that is you rock your fingers real close to those triggers. And you kind of already start to pull up on it to the point where it doesn't register yet, but you're ready to go, and that is like you're like living in the Flintstone era. You know what I mean? Like the trigger stops are so great. Yeah. Basically, I have to be pre-firing to make up for it, and it's just not the business. But anyways, so I wanted to hear. So basically, you guys are basically echoing the same thoughts I had. It sounds like something that's gonna break and gonna cause me to spend more money. But it also sounds like such a cool feature and something that I'm not mad at them trying to implement. I mean, I get the ambition is great.
If it's done right, I mean, whenever you reload, you're not allowed to pull the trigger. You know, that would be amazing. Or when the gun runs out, you're out of bullets in the clip, and it just click, you know, and then all of a sudden you can't pull the trigger anymore until you reload.
And that would feel like that wouldn't fuck you up. You just be like, I'm out of bullets. That would be good.
Yeah, it'd almost be good. Like it'd almost be. I
Yeah.
almost like I don't. The only
Oh, I'm out of
downside to it
bullets. I need to
is
reload.
that the mechanism in which they plan on stopping your finger in the middle of a heated battle, like that needs to be very robust or it's gonna break straight up, and that's my only concern. Sounds like a great piece of tech. I love the concept of it. I cannot wait to see it implemented.
Sounds like a huge moneymaker.
And but it also sounds like it's gonna cost me. Is my controller gonna break in 3 months versus 6 months now? Like, you know, and if that's the case, I really hope they like as an
The life
aside.
of a controller goes down, their profits go up.
That's true. Every time a controller goes down, their profits go up. Yeah, good point, dude. So they have no incentive to make sure that's not a problem.
Astro's fucking joysticks are like the worst joysticks that have ever came with any
So-
controller in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
I broke my right one
I-
in 3 months, switched it off for the left one, and broke it again in 3 months. So I actually got to use
Yep.
my Astro controller for about 6 months, and I know Blind told me I can go and order new pods, and I plan on doing it eventually. But it's like you
And
forget,
at the
you
same
know.
time,
It's
those
like you
aren't
just
even,
reach for the controller.
great. They're better, but they're not the.
They're not
like,
perfect either,
so-
are they?
Yeah, I bought 6 of them. I'm down to 2.
Oh, geez, wow, and that wasn't
Where'd
that
you buy 'em
long
from?
ago.
Beaver, Battle Beaver.
Battle Beavers.
The
Yeah,
red one?
I've
The red joystick modules.
yes. Did you buy the increased or the extreme?
Increased or extreme what?
The tension modules for them. They
I
come in.
just- I-
They come in standard,
I
increased,
probably just
and
bought the standard
extreme.
ones. I just bought the standards. I don't want any like different tension. I
Yeah,
don't want to learn anything
so-
different.
I would highly suggest getting the extreme ones. I have not had an issue with them at all.
Okay, I'm gonna look. Hey, I'm gonna
Like,
get me a pair of extreme
ever-
beavers, and then we'll see. I'll get back to you guys.
Yeah, I
Yeah, when I was on the website, there was just one module and there was nothing else. I looked at, you know, you
No.
go under Astro, and then there's 2 things. There's the joystick modules, and then there's the tool kit or whatever, and that was it. There was just
Yeah.
2 options.
while you're in that after you click on module, there's a ability to change it on the right hand side of the website page. You can
Find
click
out.
different things. I'll look it up right
Now,
now.
what I knew is that you can change the tension in the module itself. That's I seen videos for that. I didn't know they
Yeah,
sold
if you
different ones
um
because you could buy the regular one and change the tension.
customize
Comment from the audience. Remind me of the extreme guys off Harold and Kumar. Extreme. Remember that, guys?
Yeah.
Extreme. I
And
love
their
that, dude.
extreme mix was like the lightest mix in the world.
It was, dude. Just like they just drink Mountain Dew and ride in a pickup truck with the top down.
With a kayak on top that they never used.
Dude, extreme.
I just posted a link in Discord there, blind
Okay.
to the site.
So
And then,
sorry. Uh-huh.
I was gonna say, and then right there underneath the price, it has the 3 different buttons.
Nice. So we got some new games for this month for PlayStation. It's PUBG and Street Fighter 5. Unfortunately, I bought Street Fighter 5 when it first came out and played the whole story mode and all that, and then they added a bunch of characters and story mode stuff to it. I never went back and played it. Maybe it's time I do that now.
Stock increase. Oh, I see.
And maybe Zeus, I can convince Zeus to download it and play some Street Fighter with me on stream one of these days. Then the other one is PUBG. We jumped in there. We were playing PUBG for like 3 or 4 hours today. Dude, the game feels like it was made 10 years ago. I see why they're giving it to us for free now. There's all these creature comforts that we've got in battle royales recently, like mobility and like respawning mechanisms and just different features that are just not there.
A lot of last longers and second tries for
In-
the young
yes.
folk.
Yeah, that's true. But also when I'm playing this, I feel like I'm missing it. Like Zeus would die or I would die in the beginning, and then one of us would be playing for the next 40 minutes by themselves. I'm not joking. My controller kept turning off by the time I'd be playing again. I'd have to turn my controller on again, and it's set to turn off after like 20 minutes. So it just felt a little dated. But I also was having fun and it was rewarding. Yeah. Anyways, what do you guys think about? What do you guys think about PUBG? Will you guys be downloading it?
I will not be.
Not be.
I've played it on PC, and I just think it's kind of, it's slow. It's like Tarkov is, you have that. I mean, it's not as bad as Tarkov is pretty good.
Fell asleep trying to watch my first Tarkov stream. The dude was just crouched in a fucking bush for like 30 minutes, and I fell asleep. I think I woke up and he went on to win that game, but it was so slow paced. Yeah, like Triggsy said, it's shocking compared to COD.
It's a BR.
It's in Tarkov. It's not really a BR. It's you go in,
survive, right?
Loot, and then you have to exfil with all of the loot that you gained.
Wow, it's like a weird mix of
like that.
Yeah, it's a little different.
But it's
very slow paced as well, though.
Because people are because it's lifelike. You get hit once, you're pretty much dead.
Yeah.
So people, and it's multiplayer, right? Battle Royale-esque, whereas everyone's loading in on the same map. They're all trying to grab loot from the map, and they're gonna kill each other, take their loot to try to get out of there.
That's one thing I don't feel in PUBG. It doesn't feel like a loot. Like, you're not looting. You just drop somewhere, you grab a couple things off the ground, and you're fighting. You might kill somebody and get a better gun or something along the way. You are not running around from area to area looting and all this. It's so different. It's so different to a lot of the other. But like, so it basically came about like, oh, can I just get a kill? Can I get a couple kills? And that itself was a little fun. I don't know how long. And honestly, I don't know. If we never play PUBG again, I think I'd be okay with it. It's not a 2020 battle royale anymore. It hasn't updated itself to try to stay relevant in this world where we see all. I mean, Apex got so much damn mobility, and the fact that you can respawn people. Warzone, almost just as much mobility. You also can respawn people, arguably way easier to respawn people. You just buy them back in. I mean, there's just so many these other features. You have so many options. I mean, I don't even see how, I don't see how people are even wanting to play PUBG in 2020. You have to really be committed to the game, be a big fan of it. I just don't see what the allure of it is. The graphics are so bad too. They're so dated. Yeah, you have to be a fanboy at this point. But one funny thing I had never noticed is the energy cans have a picture of Vladimir with his shirt off on the can. Vladimir Putin with no shirt. I mean, it looks like that to me, at least. But yeah. Hey, Blind, you strike me as someone that was like really big into Street Fighter when they were in high school.
Me, no, not so much. It was always we would load the cartridge of either Mortal Kombat or Killer Instinct.
Dude, KI, bro. Oh my god, dude.
Those were the games that we just that, and then if there was 3 or more, we would go next door to our neighbors, which had the big TV, and it would be 4-player Diddy Kong Racing.
Oh, dude, Diddy Kong Racing was so fun on 64,
Kart,
dude.
But we didn't really like Mario Kart compared to Diddy Kong Racing.
Diddy Kong was better than Mario Kart because it had planes and boats also, and the hovercrafts, all that.
Story too to it, like
yeah.
You have to drive, and then you like find bosses to fight and shit. Yeah, that
good times.
The other day,
compared to Mario Kart.
The other day, I just found a CD that I had lost. And it came in like a Game Informer magazine or something like that. But it was called,
in a plastic bag.
It was called Killer Cuts. And it was
Killer Cuts, bro. I remember Killer Cuts. Oh, it was music from the thing. I remember that being in like a Game Informer or something, bro. I had that same CD, dude. I swear I did. I remember that, man.
Honestly, it was so scratched up. I ended up tossing it. I kind of wanted to hold on to it just for,
nostalgia,
like that sentimental value.
Yeah, nostalgia.
But then I'm like, what am I really gonna do with this?
Nah, you just download. You could just go on YouTube and listen to Killer Cuts if you really want to.
I know, but it was like the CD had like the big K on the front, and it just looked cool, and I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was. I love me some Cinder and Orchid. Tell you what.
How times have changed, bro. You used to get free game demos like in like a CD. It would come like, and you would really value that thing, man. Like you would, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you'd ask your friends, you want to play that demo? It'd be like a thing to do to play the demo disc.
Exactly. It was.
What were you saying, Blind?
That,
Oh, sorry.
Pizza Hut is what was the one that really hooked it up. There was like 5 series of different
You
demo
talking about the
discs that they
PlayStation
put
ones?
out. Yeah, Pizza Hut demo disc 1.
I
I
remember
remember
that.
having Pizza Hut demo disc 3 or some
Yep.
shit, and then my friend had the other ones.
And sometimes they had like entire levels and stuff, or like maps you could play.
It
Like,
was the first time I experienced Metal Gear Solid.
wow, like a
It was
whole
on
level
the
probably of Metal Gear Solid. Like that's sick,
Yeah, it
dude.
Yep.
It's
was,
on a demo
yeah.
disc. Like that's
The
so
whole
cool.
mission. Yeah.
The whole mission, dude. And so
Yep.
yeah, and so I want to like I just think it's such a 180 that we've turned into that now I buy a game like Call of Duty Modern Warfare and I'm just playing multiplayer, which I paid more than $60 to pay, you know, plus tax, or on top of that with the battle pass and all these things I'm buying. My point being is I'm walking down the street in this like fake little menu where I'm just like walking down the street with my friends until we start up a game, and they're cramming an advertisement down my face. FIFA 2021 or whatever it is, right there on the thing. And I get it. Maybe if I was in Warzone, that's a free to play game mode. Like I get it, okay. But like I paid money, dude, and you're advertising me this other game that you don't even know if I have you know. And by the way, I don't care about a soccer game. Like I don't have any interest in playing it. So I don't know. It's just it's so different, man. We're still living in such a different day and age. Where now I'm paying money for something and they're shoving an advertisement down my throat. It reminds me a lot of that scene in Ready Player One where he's like, we studies have showed that we could advertise on 90% of the screen space before we induce a seizure.
Oh my goodness.
Before we induce a seizure. That reminds me. That was another little difference between the book and the game. Like when he first found the first key, he didn't get like a huge money reward or anything like that. He made a living by selling, you know, like becoming a sponsor for all these things. And he sold out pretty much.
He sold out. He had all that fame
to get money, yeah, so that he could have sponsorships to keep him surviving.
The American
dream.
Right?
Yeah, so that's pretty much what it was. He was the first one, and
I'll tell you what, as a film major and just looking at it, and you know, I'll tell you right now, for movie purposes, saves a lot of time to not have to explain or validate all those other sponsors and to not bombard you with like basically at that point, like 30 minutes into the story, these are all characters, potential characters, especially when you have the Sixers, which work for this corporation. What's the name of the corporation, by the way? You probably know. I forget what it's called. IOI. So considering that you already have this, you know, corporations are a problem and they're already a character in the story, you can't be sitting here introducing who are these corporations that are sponsoring him. Now I need to know about them. Maybe now I want to know, and I feel like I'm missing. Like you rush through it if you mention all this. So I could see why for time constraints that they wouldn't, that they would omit that. But speaking of omitting things, I think it's time to wrap up this show. Anything you guys are not willing to omit until next week, get it off your chest now. Because it's time to wrap this thing up.
I think we're good where we're at. I think. I don't think there's anything else right now that we didn't cover that we need to.
All right, cool. Well, I'm just going to close off with a special thanks to our guests Mia, Blind, Zeus, co-host Pizza. I mean, I'm hoping we're all co-hosts in this thing together at the end of the day. If ever one of us is not able to make an episode in particular or whatever, should just sort of like they're not there. They'll be sorely missed that week. But really, they're all co-hosts. And I'd like to thank you guys for coming out to week 2 of our weekly podcasts for entertainment news. Don't forget to drop comments in the description if you guys have any ideas for naming of the podcast. I'll send it off to you guys so you can close out.
Yep. Yeah, like you said, try to leave a comment with podcast names. I think we're going to try this week to narrow down the name and put it up for a vote. Probably put a Twitter poll up or something. And other than that, thank you guys all for showing up, for listening to this hour-long podcast, and I'll let Blind say his 2 cents.
Yeah, actually, you know what's funny? All this talk about the future, and I just started thinking about it right now. The last time I stood in line to buy a video game was Black Ops 3. You think we'll ever see that again?
No, I think that's done.
That's done, right? Standing in line for a video game.
It's part of our culture that's dead. We should
Yeah.
celebrate it one of these days.
For the people that used to
definitely.
stand in line for video games, shout out to you guys, and the people who never experienced that. I'm sure there's some types of videos out there on YouTube.
Midnight releases. It was so fun.
Thank you guys so much.
Definitely.
We'll see you next
Thanks.
week.